Good evening. It's 6 o'clock. Let's call the meeting to order. Director Boyd, would you mind leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Thank you. Roll call, please.
President Griffin,
Here.
Director Boyd,
Present.
Director Cordell, Director Ratora,
Here.
Vice President Saint Amant.
Here.
Item 4, posting of agenda declaration.
The agenda for tonight's regular board meeting was posted on Friday, June 11th, 2021.
Thank you. Item number 5, conflict of interest declarations. Is there any conflicts to declare?
None for Ratora.
Cordell, no. I have none.
I have none. I'm representing my opinions tonight, not those of my employer or any other organization to which I belong.
Thank you for that.
None from Boyd.
Okay, item 6, public comments and questions and comments. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons desiring to address the board on any matter not listed on the agenda and over which the board has jurisdiction. However, no action may be taken by the board of directors on any item not appearing on the agenda. Non-agenda speakers are asked to limit their presentation to 5 minutes. Public questions and comments on items listed on the agenda will be accepted at any time the item is brought forth for consideration by the board. When you are recognized by the chairperson, please state your name and address for the record. Do we have any public comment? Should we give them a few seconds, or are we okay to move forward with the phone? No? Okay. We'll go ahead and close that portion of public comment. Move on. Oh, we're on. Yeah, I think it's a delay. Okay, it looks like we did receive a call, so we'll go back and open that public comment for this phone call. Caller, if you're there, please state your name and address. For those watching, we are waiting on a phone call to transfer over.
Mr. President, we can carry on with business until they get the member of the public, then you can open it up if you want to.
Okay. Okay, we'll go ahead and move forward with item 7. When we get the technical issued, we'll open public comment back up. So item 7, current business committee reports, the consent calendar, approval of board meeting minutes, and accounts payable disbursements. So I'll be looking for a motion for that.
I'll move we accept them. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. At this time, we'll open this up to public comment. Once public comment is closed, we will open it back up to the board for discussion and take a vote. So do we have any public comment on item 7?
I didn't think about the part of public comment, so
Yeah.
perhaps we should just wait.
Yeah.
I
Stacking up.
apologize.
About as far as we can go, huh? We got a motion. We could do that. Does the board, we could open up for board discussion first and then public comment, but my issue with that is if the public had a comment, then the board could not discuss it, so I would rather wait if we could. Okay, we're back and we think we're on public comment. Caller, if you're there, please state your name and address for the record.
Yeah, this is Renee west of Lusk, and I live within Ridgecrest city limits.
Okay, go ahead, Renee, we can hear you.
Okay, my question is, there's a severe water shortage going on up in Northern California, and it was also mentioned on the U.S. drought monitor that there's like 41 out of 58 counties in California that are put under the governor's drought status, severe drought. What I want to know is, does our water district have in place if we have to go to a water shortage situation for our valley? I realize our valley is different than the rest of California. We don't need we don't survive on surface water or reservoirs for our drinking water, but we may be put under a larger order later on that might be statewide. So does our water district have any kind of water shortage policy or draft in the works in case we have to go to that? That's my question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Renee. I'll let Don answer it, but I believe we do have a plan for earthquakes and similar stuff and droughts.
Yeah, the state requires that we have a water shortage contingency plan, which is part of our urban water management plan. Both of those are being updated for 2020. You should be able to find it on our website, I believe, Renee.
Okay. All right,
Do
thank
remember the
you.
what's the ordinance number? Do you remember, Renee? Okay, yeah, it's one of the ordinances, Renee. Just go to the website and you should be able to find it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, do we have any other public comment? Okay, no other public comment on item 6. Now we will open public comment for item 7. If there is any public comment on the current business and committee reports. Okay, seeing no calls, we'll go ahead and close public comment. I'll open it for the board. We do have a motion and a second. Okay, so call for the vote. Okay, thank you. Okay, item 7B, installation of flow reducers on past due customers.
Mr. President, I would request that you continue this until after the closed session tonight, this particular item.
Okay, item 7B will be brought back up after closed session. Seven C, Finance Committee, 2021-2022 General Fund and Capital Projects Budget. I think that's Ty.
I think that's me. Okay, before you, you have the proposed budget for fiscal year 2022, including the CIP. I think up on this, yes, up on the screen, well, on part of the screen. There you go, perfect. So for 2022, we have a proposed budget of total revenues of 17,016,509. This is an increase over the previous year's budget of 5,037,599. I bet most of you could guess where that increase comes from. It is accounting for a full year of the replenishment fee. Total GSA fees, pass-through fees for 2022 account for $4.6 million. We budgeted our total sales revenue on the consumption side at 94%, anticipating some reduction in usage, but it does include the 3% rate increase that was scheduled. For expenditures, we have an expenditure budget of $17,694,955, which is an increase of $4.8 million over the previous year's budget. Once again, $4.6 million of that is the GSA pass-through fees. You will see numerous reductions that we had to make to be able to meet our debt service coverage ratio, which is a 1.2, which means our operating revenues less the operating expenditures has to be 1.2 times our debt service amount. Increases you'll see in administration of $1 million. There was over, we budgeted legal for next year at $975,000, so that's where the bulk of that comes from. The others is liability insurance increase, PERS cost increase, and our anticipated GM retirement cash out. Yeah, like I said, the rest of this was reductions in order to meet that debt service coverage ratio. So overall, our revenues over expenditures were at a negative $678,000. That is still $148,000 better than our last year's budget. What this means is we're just not fully covering our depreciation. Depreciation is a non-cash expenditure. We like to cover that so that we're covering all of our capital outlay for the coming years, but in the short term, I don't see that as being an issue. So that is the overall operating budget. We can take questions on that page, or we can go to the next one, which is the cash flow at your preference. Okay. Page 2 is the cash flow projection. So you see a beginning cash of $22,412,000. If you want to see what makes up that amount, it is on the it's pretty much the next page, which is the year-end estimate for 2021 cash flow. But that's all your reserves and any COP funds that are still sitting there at the end of this current fiscal year. We have operating revenues of $15.7 million. Capital contributions, now this number will not match the previous report's number because we're talking actual cash. We do receive what's recorded in revenues on developer contributions. These are anything that is dedicated to the district when they install lines. So we record that as revenue, but it's not cash. And then we have the non-operating of $117 million. So we have the $16,666,000. Expenditures, our operating expense is $7.5 million. Our proposed capital improvement projects of $9.1 million, and this will complete the COPs. We have non-op expenses of $5.1 million. Conservation, 13.7, alternate water supply, 86,000. Now you'll see our debt service principal and our long-term debt, which is essentially the interest on the principal. of 1 million and 1.5 million respectively. So total expenses of 24 million. The net cash flow is a negative 7.6 million. But remember, how much is it? Just over 6 million is our COP expenditures. And the rest of that would be capital because we have 9.1 million. Ending cash of 14 million. That includes 3.7 in emergency reserves, just under 2.5 in capital replacement reserve. We have the vehicle, computer replacement, future source of supply at 1.6. Other assigned balances, some of 1.2 million of this 1.5 million is non-spendable because that's deposits and customer deposits for the most part, or assessment district funds. That leaves us with an unrestricted cash balance of 4.8 million. You see the table below, debt service coverage, we have a requirement of 1.2 times, and we're meeting that at 1.26. We still meet our 6 months of O&M fund reserve of 3.7 million, but we do not meet the capital replacement target, which is the amount to replace one tank and one booster of 10.8 million. And let's see, that's basically it for the operations budget. So welcome any questions at this time on that.
Hey, Ty, how are you gonna make up the $7.6 million?
So
Where do you show that?
So just under 6 of that, or just over 6 of that is the COP funds. Those have to be spent. That's not revenue. That's sitting there waiting to be spent on capital projects. The other 1.6 million would be coming from 1 million coming from the capital replacement reserve because it's going towards the tank replacements and the boosters, those things that weren't covered by Cal OES and we need for the system redundancy due to the earthquake. So that's coming out of the capital reserve. The balance would be coming out of our cash balance. We program a couple million every year just for capital projects. That's what's offsetting your depreciation cost because we continually have to reinvest into the system to keep it up to date.
Yeah, I'd like to point out a couple things that I noticed going through. Are you through with the operating budget so I can comment on, ask questions?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. On page 1, which is the budget, I guess, we're not balanced. You pointed out we're not balanced, and I understand that and I agree, but I guess it's still not a good sign in my mind. What I tried to do is look at not just the net position budget, but also the cash budget and the cash flow budget. I tried to establish what was our going in cash reserve, and so what I took was the top number of 22.4 million and subtracted the basically the bond money of 6,083,000. So I get a reserve of 16.3 million approximately in terms of a reserve. And the majority of that is discretionary, that we can spend however we want. I mean, we've got objectives, but it's basically what we can spend. And then I go down to the capital improvement projects, and it's not 7 million, it's 9.1 million. And if you take out the bond money of 6,083,000, that leaves us with $3,065,000 remaining. It comes out of our cash. And then when I go down to the ending cash, what I did is I subtracted the number you've got down there now, 14,700,000, from the beginning number of 16,300,000, and that tells me that we basically are in the red in cash flow, $1.6 million. Does that agree with the numbers that you, I mean, all of those numbers that are below that, we break up into our own allocation, but they're an allocation. What I'm concerned about is our total available reserve. And it looks like to me we went down from 16.3 down to 14.7, or a net loss of $1.6 million in reserve.
Right, and 1 million, as I said before, is coming out of the capital replacement reserve for those projects that weren't covered by Cal OES.
Yeah, well, understand, but it's still, I mean, it's all
Yeah,
reserve.
absolutely.
And our reserve numbers are going down 1.6 million. Excuse me. So then I'd like to point out on page 1 again, or I sent you an email earlier this morning, and you indicated that we were budgeted at 94%, and that's basically 94% of just the water, not the reserve. Is that correct?
Correct, I don't anticipate accounts decreasing.
Yeah, right. No, I understand the logic under there. I guess what this is 6% of the income, not necessarily 6% of the actual water usage.
Correct.
Correct? And I guess my feeling is, if we're paying $1.94 a unit more for water this year than we did last year, we could go down in terms of water usage 6 or 8%, and that in turn could be more like a 8, 10, or 12% reduction in actual cash revenue received. It's sort of subjective. It's kind of hard to say. If we had a crystal ball, we could put it exact, but my feeling is that your number of only a 6% reduction in revenue might be low. I can't tell you a better number. I just think it might be low.
Yeah, that's the best number we had. It's hard to single out specific accounts saying, okay, we're gonna have a reduction in tier 3 water here and the tier 1 water here. So this was our crystal ball, as broken as it is.
Okay. And
We
then
think it's fair, and we'll continue to monitor this budget during the year. If we see that we're trending the wrong way, then of course we're going to come back and we're going to recommend solutions for that.
and
Percent, I think, includes 3% raise, correct?
So down 6%, up 3%, yeah.
Okay.
And my last comment is, when we went over this in the Finance Committee, I pointed out there were a number of things that I thought were underfunded. On page 12, in my mind, the general plan, the urban water management plan, and the water shortage contingency plan, they all look like they were underfunded. They were put into one bag, and it looked, in my mind, it looked like they were considerably underfunded. The conservation efforts, right now there's almost nothing there, and I understand that we're already in the red, and pointing out things that need to be funded is probably not the logical thing to do.
But that was the low-hanging fruit when we had to
Yeah.
look at where to cut. We figured the GA would take care of conservation for
GA
us.
is not going to take care of conservation.
Well, I just mean in decreasing.
And my
yeah.
feeling is it's our ratepayers that need help with conservation, and we should try to help them, I guess is my feeling. And then another area that I thought was underfunded was the water recycling effort. I think you mentioned the 50K.
Yeah, that's the balance of the project,
That's
the work order. That was,
okay. I guess my feeling is, if we're going to be in a leadership role there of the water recycling. We don't want to underfund that effort. And actually, I'm not sure where that's going.
If that goes towards if it turns into where it's a project, then of course that would be moved from operations into a capital improvement project.
But it's still money that would have to be spent, I guess is my
Yeah,
point.
absolutely.
And I'm not, did we get an estimate from Krieger and Stewart that said they're going to finish all the work that they've got planned to work with the GA for 50K?
Well, we did get the work order for the total work order for the recycling, and I deducted what we've spent this year from that work order, and that's the balance.
Okay, I guess I just don't want to see us fall short. But if that's what it is, that's what it is. My last comment has to do with the lack of any money in the budget for exploration for water. Obviously, we've got a serious issue with not having enough water, and exploration for new water is something I think we really need to be looking at, and right now there's nothing in the budget for that. So my feeling is that even though we're in the red right now, we still have to identify how we're going to afford to do what we need to do to help the current overuse of water. Thank you, that was all.
If I might, I think if there is a viable exploration project, I believe we could use funding from the reserves for the alternate water. There's $1.5 million in there. And then with regard to your comment about the water contingency plan and the urban water management plan, again, that's based on actual work order from Krieger and Stewart, their estimate.
So that's properly funded.
Excuse me?
So it's properly funded, that's their estimate.
Unless they go over their budget,
Right,
yes.
which is always a possibility, right?
Yeah, I didn't realize that we already had a work order, but I guess and you're right, we can always spend our reserves, but in my mind, those are emergency reserves. We haven't actually built any of those up to our actual objectives. So when we spend money out of our reserves, until we meet our objectives anywhere, it's all an emergency reserve, and I would be very leery about spending all that money and not having it there if we needed it for emergency.
But to put that into the budget, to Ty's point, it would throw everything out of whack, and we'd have to cut things in order to meet the debt ratio.
Yeah.
So you add $1 million in there, we've got to cut $1 million from somewhere else within that budget. And we've already gone through this, staff has, with, I'll say fine-tooth comb to try and cut back as much as we could and make this thing meet the covenants. So we can't just, to add something in, we've got to take things out. Just want to make that point.
Well, I guess the other side of the coin is figure out a way to get new revenue. You know, you and I have been talking about changing our rate structure for probably a year. My feeling is we've known about the increases in expenses for some time, and we've also known about the decrease in amount of water that we can use by state edict for some time. And we need to get hopping on trying to figure out a way to get more revenue so we can meet the obligations we have in terms of the amount of things we need to expend money on.
Thank you, Stan. I also had a comment, kind of ties in with Stan on the exploration. I was going to ask the same question that Don pretty much gave the answer for, but we could use the alternate water. How would we just make a budget adjustment for
Right.
exploration? Because I agree with Stan, we do need to look at every option we can.
Right, when an activity or a project is ready to be approved, then we'd assign that through board action. We could assign alternate water.
Okay, and then also, we're probably gonna have a workshop coming up pretty quick, is that correct? So I think maybe it is a good idea to add that item to the workshop and also maybe the rate study to where we can try to see where we're at, so you guys aren't having to rob from Peter to pay Paul to try to make the
Right.
budget balanced, where we do have our reserves that show we can meet our requirements, so.
Right, we have one more scheduled rate increase, which is next July, so this coming fiscal year is when we would start looking at doing the rate study, absolutely.
Any other comments? Okay, we're gonna open this up for public comment. Do we have any public comment? Okay, seeing no public comment, we come back, we do have a motion, we have a second. So I'll asking for the vote. We do?
There was no motion.
I thought we did have a motion
No,
on
we
this.
still got the CIP as well.
Oh, then I'm off, so sorry about that.
So if you want, we could go to the CIP, which is our capital plan.
Okay.
I think, what page does it start on? It's after the first 15 pages. We have this broken down into different sections, if you will: water supply, water distribution, technology, equipment, solar, and then anything else. For the 2022 column, anything highlighted in yellow will be fully or partially covered by the COP funds. We don't have, all the projects identified equate to more than the COPs available, so we'll use it first come, first serve. Once that's done, then it goes to the capital reserves. For water supply, we have the arsenic plant under drain, which is supposed to correct the issues we've been having with the media loss, and that's budgeted at $200,000. We have 10 mag meters for $10,000 each, which comes out to $100,000. The gateway booster repair, $3.3 million. New service installations, this is our recurring every year. We got 9,000 in there. The Springer tank solar, there is no power out at the Springer tank, and the solar system out there is going out. Yeah, so this is to replace that, 10,000. We do have a couple of mainline replacements: South Gold Canyon for 150 and Karen for 150. Fire hydrants, this is another regularly annual occurrence for 7,500. We have the 4 replacement tanks come in at 4.54 million. End of life meter exchange, this is, we found that the meter bases, there's many that date back to the 70s that are past their useful life, so we're swapping those out little as we go. So 337,000 for the current year, and 347 for the next year, and then we'll just do a steady maintenance, replacing the oldest ones continually, so we stay up to date on that. Bulk station at 100,000, that should complete it. Got 15,000 for miscellaneous computer purchases, 40,000 for the Springbrook cloud upgrade. This is a requirement as we're on version, I think, 7.15, and they're on version 8 something, so we're losing our support on keeping our financial system up to date, and this will allow us to better integrate that with WaterSmart for the customer portal. We got 15,000 for a replacement server, 120,000 in vehicle replacement. I think there's 4 vehicles we're replacing. I can't remember which all they are. Yeah, 2 maintenance. Was it the fuel truck? And the fuel truck. And then 25,000 for miscellaneous capital purchases. This is if anything comes up during the year that's a capital item. And then 30,000 for the groundwater storage study. Comes out to 9.149 million. As I said, 606,083,000 is COP, and the rest coming out of the reserves. And then for the next 9 years, these are just anticipated projects. These will change as time goes on and we have better information. Sometimes they're pushed out when it's too heavy of a capital year. I believe the Springer line was pushed out, to 2024 due to the gateway booster and the tanks that had to be done higher priority. All right. Mm-hmm.
Ty, you're only figuring, basically one fire hydrant per year? One fire hydrant per year as far as replacement goes?
Oh, that's more than one.
Those are not replacements. That's a new fire hydrant to the system. Replacements on the operational budget.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have any public comment? Okay, we'll close public comment, bring it back to the board for any other discussions, any other questions? Okay. That's, you're complete, Ty?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so we need a motion for this to accept this budget. If anybody would like to make a motion, I'd be looking for that.
I'll move that we accept the budget.
We have a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Call for the vote.
No, it's Wayne Inc. over there.
Okay, the motion passes. Okay, item 7D, the Admin Exec Committee, California Special Districts Association. Don, do you want to go over that nomination?
Okay, there were 4 candidates that submitted statements of their qualifications, and we reviewed this at the Admin Exec Committee. I had looked at them beforehand, and I know sometimes the board asks for staff recommendations. After looking at the qualifications, it was my recommendation that Mr. Gong be nominated, and that was the opinion of the Administrative Committee as well. He had, according to his statement of qualifications, he had a lot of experience in different types of special districts and organizations. And in my opinion, I thought his statement was more comprehensive in terms of his experience than anybody else that submitted one. So that was the recommendation from the committee, and it's up to the board if they want to have discussion on it and consider somebody else.
Any comments from the board?
No, I trust the method.
And I also agree with Don, and I reviewed it, and he was very detailed. He went through it. He wrote a resume essentially, so it was a very good report. So, do we have any public comments on item 7D? Okay, see no public comments on 7D, so we will need a motion to make this recommendation.
Also move.
So we have a motion.
I'll second that.
Second, call for the vote. I don't have that option.
You don't have,
No, it's not coming up.
Could you expand your screen?
There we go. Thank you. Oh, I could have too if I knew that. Last time I tapped it, it went away, so. Okay,
Know where to tap.
yeah, that's the thing. Okay, motion passes. Okay, item 7E, the Indian Wells Valley Groundwater Authority. Okay, please do.
I'm going to make a brief announcement with respect to pending litigation Is this better? The Indian Wells Valley Water District has authorized its legal counsel to initiate a water rights lawsuit to resolve the long-standing conditions in the Indian Wells Valley groundwater basin where water use has exceeded groundwater supply for years. This lawsuit is referred to as a comprehensive adjudication and should determine the water rights and quantities of all groundwater pumpers in the basin. The board feels this action by the district is necessary to protect and conserve the limited water supply that is vital to the public health, safety, and welfare of all persons in the basin, persons and entities in the basin. Approximately 301,000 of the 382,000 acres of land overlying the basin are federal property managed by Naval Air Weapons Station China Lake, the Bureau of Land Management, and the Forest Service. Water rights of the federal government are beyond the jurisdiction of the state to regulate. Under applicable law, the federal government may only participate in a water rights lawsuit if such a case is considered to be what is called a comprehensive adjudication involving all stakeholders/pumpers in the basin. The district is therefore taking the necessary action of filing a comprehensive adjudication. Be aware that the district is filing this action on behalf of the water district individually and not as a member of the Indian Wells Valley Groundwater Authority that was formed pursuant to the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, or SGMA, and that developed and adopted the GSP, or the Groundwater Sustainability Plan, back in January of 2020. We anticipate filing this lawsuit by midweek, and once we have filed the lawsuit, we anticipate that the district will make additional information available, possibly through the website for sure, and then maybe other public announcements. That will be the only statement that the district has on this matter at this time. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Worth. Okay, what I would like to do is open this item up for public comment, and then we will close public comment and come back to the board. So if we have any public comment on item 7E. I know. No, any items on the, for the GA, for item 7E?
Allowed to speak because it was. Okay, are we on now? Okay, thank you. And I wasn't allowed to speak, so I clearly am speaking for myself and only myself. I elected and voted and supported my water district. I have 2 accounts with you as a both commercial and residential. I expect you to speak for me, to represent me, whether I agree with you on every single topic. It doesn't make any difference. I want you to address my concerns and vote and speak as my representatives. When you choose not to speak, not to participate, it says one of 2 things: you don't care or can't. I don't believe you don't care. So I'm assuming you're deciding, as Stan said at the GA meeting, that you were choosing not to speak. That is difficult for me to understand because I expect you to speak for me, to represent me and all the other ratepayers in the district. When you don't vote, don't speak, what happens is that all the actions that took place put the ratepayers, in my opinion, to say, we are not going to vote to support the efforts of the GSA in dealing with Mojave pistachios and with Searles Valley Minerals. So therefore, all the people that will pay for those replenishment fees will be the ratepayers and those that that agreed to
Hello?
pay. And that what happens is the ratepayers are gonna pay for everything. Unfair. We all are water users in this valley. We all must pay for the solutions that happen. When you choose not to vote, you said the ratepayers will pay it all. Not appropriate, not fair. I think it is important to understand that when you, as my elected representative, choose not to speak, that is your choice. But to abandon the meeting, to walk away from the meeting, that is inappropriate in my point of view. I want you to be there. I know Mr. Rotoro was at the meeting. He was in the audience. He heard. So it was almost a thumbing of your nose that we will sit there, but we will not listen. We will not participate. We will not be a part. We will not do as I elected you to do, to represent me. I find it difficult to believe that you could take that position. You abandoned me. You abandoned your ratepayers. You said, we're not going to speak. We're not going to participate. We will leave this meeting. Clearly he didn't, and you all heard it. But to not participate and do what you were required to do by agreeing to, and when you took your oath of office to represent me, I find it difficult to understand. Show me where I'm wrong, please. Anybody?
I'll take a crack. This was largely a legal decision that the district should recuse itself from participating in any GA proceedings dealing with the replenishment fee. That's all we can say. There's all sorts of things that the district has to consider. There are 3 active lawsuits going on. We are proceeding in the manner that we think is in the best interest of the district and the ratepayers. If I can't give you a more specific answer, it's because it's legal stuff, Peggy, and that is the best answer you're going to get. If you don't like it, I'm sorry, but that is the answer that the district's going to give.
Since 1983, I've been involved in water. I even sat in those seats for some years. Hiding behind legality is not the way to deal with the issues. Finding solutions, working together to seek answers is the way it happens. I expect you to serve us. I expect you to do what is right by representing me and the other ratepayers, and by saying it's okay if all of us bear the burden and nobody else has to. Inappropriate. Thank you.
Thank you, Peggy. Okay, do we have any other public comment? Okay, caller, state your name and address, please. Okay, caller, please state your name and address, please.
Hello, this is Renee Westerlusk. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Renee. We can hear you.
Okay. I too feel unrepresented, when the water district is not participating at the IWVGA board meetings. It bothers me. I expect representation. That said, I also have questions regarding this adjudication You call it comprehensive water rights adjudication. Like, what advantage is there in doing this? What will this comprehensive water rights adjudication do for me as a water district ratepayer? And how long will it take to file this? Is it going to take years to go through the courts and all that? I don't really understand why this now. Those are my questions.
Okay. Well, as our legal representative had stated, that we will not be commenting on the lawsuit tonight, so we won't go into any detail on that until after it is filed, which we're anticipating Wednesday, as he had stated. And we appreciate your comments very much.
And there will be additional information provided to the public as it comes forward, and hopefully quickly as well. Thank you.
I just have one thing. I don't understand why our water district representative can't attend the meeting, and then if there's a controversial vote, he can abstain from voting. But I think not to be there and miss part of the meeting, or was May 6th. We had no representation at that May 6th special hearing at the Groundwater Authority special hearing on May 6th. Those are my comments. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Renee.
Mr. President, may I ask?
Yeah, please come back up, Peggy.
Thank you. I'm making some assumptions here, and my apology if they are incorrect. But Sigma allows the de minimis users and the well owners to be out of it. Basically, they are granted X number of acre feet of water, and they are protected by non-involvement. And I'm going to use that word. I don't know whether it's a legal word or not. But when you file adjudication, comprehensive adjudication, that means every one of us water users in the valley will have to lawyer up, pay an attorney, and say, protect me so I can protect my rights. You have now then included every single well owner, every single mutual, every single anybody, and we all are going to pay for this. There is no protection for anybody. Fair? I don't know, but I think that the race to lawyers is going to be huge, because as when Donna Thomas and I and others started the Well Owners Association in 1984, we thought we were protecting ourselves. We were doing what was best to be educated, to be involved, and know what was going on. And now the well owners are part of those people that are going to have to stand up and put the money out. Wrong or right, that's my assumption. It's going to be a race to the dollar, to the pockets. It's going to be a race to all the water attorneys, and it's all going to be everybody trying to protect themselves and not trying to find solutions, because it's more urgent to protect my right to use my water than it is to find a solution. I can't imagine how adjudication is going to help that thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Peggy. Any other public comment? Okay, seeing no other public comment, we'll close that and let Stan give his presentation.
Okay, thank you. By the way, there were two meetings since we last met, one in May and one in June of the GA, that is. The June 9 GA meeting adopted an order for Mojave Pistachios to pay all fees due or cease pumping. This still requires a court order to implement, is my understanding. At the same meeting, the GA also adopted an order for Searles Valley Minerals to pay all fees due or cease pumping, with a caveat that the GA had until July 1 to verify it would not impact the Trona water supply. And if that happened, then that order would be void. At the same time that was going on, the Orange County Superior Court was also having some activity, and the Orange County Court hearing on the request to stay the replenishment fees for Mojave pistachios was denied. The Orange County Court hearing on the request to stay the RF fees for the Cereals Valley Minerals has been continued until June 17th, and that's coming right up, I believe, this Thursday. And the same issue regarding the Trona water is what's at stake there. The shallow well mitigation study is ongoing, as is the recycled water alternative study. My feeling is these two projects will determine if we can reconstitute the TAC and the PAC. The TAC and the PAC have been obviously just not used basically in the last year. And I think there's going to be an attempt to try to get them back involved. And I'm certainly going to encourage that. A new emergency conservation restrictions ordinance came before the board in May. It, however, was absent from the June meeting. In terms of outstanding issues, the finances have been plaguing the GA now for 3 years. There have been reports at both the May and the June meetings, although it was difficult to actually understand the true obligations based upon those reports. The biggest issue, I believe, is the Stetson expenses. Stetson on their invoices provides good understanding of what the money was spent on, but it appears that all of the funds are actually being pulled out of the replenishment fee, which are actually supposed to be imported water. So I'm tracking that very closely because that's something, since I think one of our speakers pointed out, the water district's paying the lion's share of all of those fees. We want to make sure that those fees are put to the purpose that they were intended. The FY 2020 audit status is unknown. We are now in the 6th month of this fiscal year, and there's been no discussion as to what's going on there. And I have pushed to make sure we get a status at the next report, at the next meeting. We've also, at the last few GA meetings, not addressed schedule at all. And we've just become very lax. And so I've been trying to push on making sure that the general manager actually reports out on the schedule. The waiver for the Navy man camp has still not been addressed, and I have no idea when it will be addressed at this point. And one of the bigger problems is the GA, both in May and June, was not open to the public. I have, hopefully that will change this next month. I don't know. There was a little bit of banter about it at the meeting, but nothing came out that would lead me to believe that there's a certainty that we're going to have public involvement. So if you want to open it up to public questions and.
No, we already had public questions. I want to open it up to the board if there's any comments.
Oh, well, I thought maybe they might want to have
For now.
comment about whatever. I don't care.
Yeah, I'll open it up at the end, but I would like the board. So do we have any public comment on Stan's report so far? Okay. No public comment. I have a couple questions for you, Stan. I know the clause on the pumping fee, I believe, that had a sunset clause. Have you researched that at all, or have you heard anything on that? Because that should have reached its.
I think Don was published some figures regarding the total amount of money that's been obtained. It's like, I believe, 1.7 or $1.8 million total from a pumping fee, but that goes back to the start, not to the time that it was increased to the 105. So there is nothing in the finance report that shows exactly, based upon the date that we changed from the 24 cents to, pardon me, from the 7 cents to 24 cents. We don't know exactly, based upon the finance report, how much money we've collected from that date. But I will keep track of it. I mean, that's what I intend to do. Although we're not at the point in terms of the finance report where you could make any sense out of that at all. I've just got to keep pushing to make sure we get more and more details.
And there's not a hard date for when it's just going to end on December 13th or anything like that. There's other factors, so.
Well, yeah, because I had listened back, I believe, to a meeting, I think it was August or so, and it said that once it reached that 1.6 million or whatever, I thought that would end, so that's where I was curious.
Here's a perfect example. Some of the fees from the groundwater extraction pump fee are used for defense costs. So, the costs of defense are based on estimates, so there's some litigation going on, so it could go on longer to help fund the defense. So that's just one example.
Okay.
So I think, keeping an eye on it, as Stan has indicated, versus looking for a steadfast date is probably the better way to do it. That's all.
Well, of course, one of the problems there is there has not been any real detail given in terms of what the legal fees are in any of them that I could tell to point. In fact, I've been trying to look at who has been charging to what fund for the legal fees, and I believe that's one of the things that's still up in the air. But I'm going to be tracking it, and I assure you that the original estimate was 1.5 million, and we need to keep that understanding and push it, because it could very easily grow beyond, bounds if we don't watch it. But it's not cut and dry. I mean, I think as Jim pointed out.
Okay. All right, was there any other board questions on item 7E or comments? Oh, we do? Oh, okay, I guess we do have a caller coming in, so we'll open public comment back up. Caller, state your name and address, please.
Yeah, this is Renee Westa Lusk, again, from Ridgecrest. I live within Ridgecrest city limits. I just want to make a comment about, it keeps being brought up about why there aren't public meetings where the public's actually in the city council chambers at the IWVGA. There are boards across the whole state of California that are meeting virtually, and the governor hasn't really come out with lifting those restrictions. The Groundwater Authority is not the only board meeting like this, and everybody seems to be getting so upset about it. It's not a big issue. The main thing is the safety of the public. And for everybody's information, our county is way behind in vaccinations, and the Indian Wells Valley, the last I checked, last Thursday, is only 37.2% vaccinated. And we're supposed to be getting to 70%. We have a long way to go in this valley. So I think that we're not, because the GA and other boards aren't meeting in person, is a non-issue. It's self-explanatory. Thank you.
Thank you, Renee. Okay. Any other public comment? Okay, we are going to close public comment. Any further discussion on item 7E? If not, we'll move forward. Okay. Mine's not updating again. There we go. Okay. 7F, General Manager and Staff Update.
Okay, we'll start off with safety. As of today, employees at Water District have worked 54 days since the last recordable injury. Although attendance in the boardroom for these meetings is currently limited to 25%, as I'm sure you're aware, and with district board members and staff, it only means 6 people from the public can attend, but that's going to change tomorrow, and the governor rescinds a lot of his orders. The biggest change is removal of all capacity limits and physical distancing requirements regardless of the setting, which means that bars, restaurants, concert venues, grocery stores, and everything in between, including Disneyland, can be open at full capacity, if they so choose. So we'll be monitoring over the next month if anything changes, but I would anticipate next month we would be open completely for public attendance. Moving on to production, metered production at the wells for the month of May was 187,817,100 gallons. It's 567.2 acre feet. And again, the number that we report to the State Water Resources Control Board for comparison is metered water through the system and non-revenue water, which would be from leaks, flushing activities, blow-offs, et cetera. That number was 545,000. That's 477.4 acre feet. We reported the results on June 4th. Consumption was down 25.1% compared to May of 2013, the baseline year that the state uses. So based on our 20% conservation target that the board voluntarily adopted in June 2016, since that time we're at 22.5 cumulative conservation rate. And I will add, because of the governor's declaration of drought, which included Kern County, when we report to the state that we not only report our conservation results, but it's now mandatory that we fill out a second section with several responses to several questions about what we're doing in response to the drought. Which I did this last month. It just so happens many of the things that they ask about are things that we've continued to do since the last drought. So it wasn't a whole lot of new information to add. One thing that they did ask, which I couldn't really provide answers for, was for each specific item, how much water we estimate is conserving. I could tell them that we have an overall 22.5, but to attribute it to different actions, I couldn't do that. So going forward until the governor rescinds the declaration of the drought, that's what we'll have to be doing every month, is reporting what we're doing with regards to addressing the drought. Look at our conservation results over the last few years. It's pretty consistent. Last year was 30.9%, 2019 27.9, 2018 23.8, and 2017 30.1. So good results every month for the last 4 years. Our residential gallons per capita per day, which we have to report as well, was 124.4. April was 109.9. So as it's gotten warmer, obviously more landscape watering, more use of evaporative coolers. So that's not unexpected. And I'll remind you again that 124.4 reflects both indoor and outdoor. It's not just indoor usage. We did add 5 new connections during the month of May. There have been 117 new connections during the fiscal year, which ends at the end of this month. The new connections have contributed $741,589 in capital facility fees. This time last year, we only had 70 new connections, and they had contributed $314,234 in capital facility fees. Any questions on that part? Okay, it's public outreach, not a lot happening there. I had a meeting conflict with the mayor's community collaborative, so I didn't participate in that. That was on June 1st. I'm drafting an article this month for a new GM column. I have it pretty much written. After tonight, I'll probably finish it up, and I'm going to run it past Mr. Worth first before I send it out for publication. January 27th, 2021 special board workshop. We have one item still on there, and that's the Finance Committee to a policy for issuing will serve letters for new connections. We were originally going to report at the April board meeting that this would be discussed at the May 4th Finance Committee meeting, but since that time, Mr. Worth has wanted to be available for that meeting. Work on the groundwater authority, different issues that have come up has prevented his availability. He wanted to be involved because he voiced the opinion that this subject involves a broader range of topics that need to be more than just the will serve. So we've put it on the agenda for the July 6th Finance Committee meeting, and as far as I know, you plan to be available for that. So that's all I have on that item. Number 4 is the mid-year board workshop. As was mentioned earlier, we always have a board workshop in July and one in January, so we need to schedule. Lawrence put the calendar up. I will note that I am on vacation the last week of July, so that would probably be an ideal time to schedule that. So anyway, your availability, if you want to put some dates out, if you want to decide tonight. But I will say for the board workshop, generally, any topics, I've noted a couple already as a result of this discussion, a rate study and the exploration program as agenda items. But if board members have items they'd like to propose to be on the agenda, to send them to Lauren and myself and to the board president. It's up to the board president to decide on the final agenda. But please send any ideas you have in advance, probably, well, it depends on the date, so let's set the date first and then we'll tell you when we need the topics by.
I think it's probably proper to go ahead and set the date if we could all agree on it. That way we can get
Sure.
it set up. So if anybody has any days they can or any suggestions, I'd be open to
It's
that.
Sooner is better than later, so early on in July.
Probably, I think staff would prefer probably the week of the 19th. That gives us lots of time to prepare.
I'm going to be out of town from the 14th through the 20th.
Okay?
I've got to go to Alaska fishing.
You got to?
Got to.
Got to.
Already paid.
Those fish are calling your name, huh?
I'll
Okay.
be gone from July 2nd through the 11th. So that first week is not good for me. But if we could do it the 13th, if that would work for everybody, I don't know.
Be absent.
You'll be absent on the 13th? Okay.
Would the 22nd, a Thursday, the 22nd work?
That won't work, it won't work for me.
Okay.
That's my birthday week, and it's 7/21/21, so I'm gonna go gamble.
Okay, so the 21st doesn't work either.
No, but I mean 19th or
Okay.
20th is fine in that area.
Stan will be gone the 20th.
On the 20th, I'm still gone.
Oh, you're still gone, okay.
14th through the 20th.
Well, it doesn't matter, I mean, the first week of July would be fine with me too. Like the 8th of July or something?
I will be gone that week.
You've gone that, after that.
Week,
Okay.
maybe we consider if the first week of August, would that,
Yeah, I have no
it
problem.
seems like there's a
I
lot of
think
conflict.
August would be
August
okay
works
with me.
better.
That's okay with everybody else.
Let's see.
So do we have a calendar for August handy?
I've got one.
It looks like the first would be Sunday, and then Monday the second, the third.
August, Monday would be the 2nd, so like, let's see. Would Thursday the 5th be okay?
So is the 26th through 30th, is that out of the question?
It's okay with me, I'm on
Of
vacation.
July. He's gone on vacation that week.
Oh, okay, okay. I didn't get that.
Don't let that stop you.
You can join us by phone.
I would be good for the 5th of August.
Okay.
5th of August, okay?
What kind of a day is that?
Thursday the 5th,
Thursday.
at 9 o'clock?
Sunday evening.
Is that water management?
No.
No.
That
No,
would be the week prior.
no, water management would be
Oh, no, that'd be
29th.
toward the end. Sure, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm good.
Thursday, August 5th.
Thursday, August 5th is good.
Everybody okay
You
with
good,
that?
Jim?
I'll
Okay,
check
so-
with Chuck Krieger and make sure he's available. Okay, August 5th.
9 o'clock?
9 o'clock. AM, yes. So, let's see, how about if we get any ideas for the agenda by, Lauren, you want to give us a date on that? What are you comfortable with? July 28th? That gives you
July
plenty of time.
28th. That gives us,
That will
A
give you enough
week.
time?
that will give us a week, yeah. A little over a week.
Has to be posted a couple days beforehand.
I'll just need to post it by that Monday, which is fine, the 2nd, so the
Okay.
28th,
Okay.
I would say.
Okay, due by the 28th.
Okay,
Okay, sounds good. So we'll move on.
sure.
Well, 35, right?
Yes.
Can you hear me okay? You have to put these pretty close. Okay, so we're getting towards the end here. Well, 35, we have generator startup tomorrow. And Kruger and Stewart will be up here to also check on all the punch list items. The door did get rekeyed. We are waiting for we're waiting for one water quality result, and then plus water supply is going to be doing the coliform sampling tomorrow. So we're getting close. We get everything finished up and get that all sent to the state and get our permission to start using that well. So here pretty soon. NG's been out there last week, and they were out there today doing the AC disconnect switch and the data acquisition system meters. They haven't yet scheduled the electrical connections with SCE. We're waiting to get the information when that's going to be done. It has to shut that down for a couple hours. And that's it on well 35. If there's any questions. I will move on. Post-earthquake repairs, the last one we're working on right now is the C-Zone Booster Building roof replacement and seismic upgrades. I did have some pictures that you guys could look at if you'd like. They're just about done. They had one last item that they did, which was the up ducts, which honestly weren't installed properly or with the actual specified up ducts. They're having trouble getting the right up ducts, and it'll probably be mid-July before they get them. But except for that, and we're going to be going out Wednesday to take a look, see if there's any other punch list items that need to be done. But we can go ahead and start the paperwork with Cal OES and submit what's been done so far. And then I will be requesting an extension, because the extension right now, as we got before, was to June 30th, but with the problem getting the correct up ducts, now we're going to have to get an extension probably. I'm going to go ahead just for safety till the end of August, just in case there's any other issues that come up. But that's not a big deal. It's just writing a letter, sending it to them, and that's it. So you can scroll through those if you want to. Here's the new roof. Fortunately, we neglected to include painting in the bid package, so we're on the hook for painting the building on the outside. So those are some of the reinforcements that were put in the corners and along the floor. Part of the seismic upgrades. Any more? Keep going. Is there more? There should be more. Oh, okay. And that's one along the floor. Those are pretty large. They're like that big. Yeah. Had to have special inspections on those bolts. That's the new door with a new lintel above the door. And that's Kurt opening the door. They have a new threshold there, a new entrance there to the door. That might be the last picture.
So are they coming back
Okay.
and gonna stucco around that door, or are we gonna have to just paint it?
We're gonna have to do, yeah, it wasn't included in the bid package for fixing that, unfortunately. It's kind of something we forgot. That's it for, well, what they're scrolling through right now is, because I forgot to put it on the agenda, is the bulk station. If there isn't any more questions on the C-Zone booster, the roof, I just wanted to kind of throw that in because I had some pictures. We did talk about it at P&E. They did, Corey Laura Construction, CLC Construction did finish. They got the conduit, they poured the light standards and the concrete pad. We did get the 7-day compression results Friday, which were good so far. So that is for the light standards. Let's see, it's supposed to keep going. Eventually. There's several pictures, I promise. Oh, that skipped into the pouring of the pad.
You're way behind, yeah. We're gonna call them.
Okay, mine's ahead. That's so weird. Okay, so there's all the rebar.
Yeah, I'm on the concrete.
Yeah, me too.
Theirs are on rebar.
Oh, they're back to the roof. All right.
Same way you are.
So the next step's going to be running electrical up there, and as staff can get to it. So with the current workload, they'll be getting to it here pretty soon.
So the finished slab looks good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, see, there's a finished slab up on the screen.
I haven't had that yet.
There we go.
I got a picture of a tank.
Well, there's a slab there in front there. And then there's bollards that go around to protect, it's going to protect the actual station, so someone pulls in and they don't hit it.
Bigger, smaller.
And there'll eventually be fencing around there too. So,
Okay.
and that's all I have.
Okay, move to item 7, the financial status.
Through May of 2021, we have total revenues of $13,131,000, which is $3,146,000 better than budget. Our expenditures are at $12,364,000, which is $478,000 more than budget, but our net is a positive $767,068, which is $2.66 million better than budget. Our capital expenditures to this point is $4.15 million. Of that, just over $2 million is funded by the COPs. And we have debt service principal of $901,000. To add to that, through, May of 2021, we would have had 217 accounts that would be subject to lock-off for a past due balance of $125,800. And just to let you know, the governor's executive order for not allowing shutoffs expires on September 30th. So October 1st is we can begin locking off customers. So we're going to give these 217 accounts a warning letter in the next week to prepare them to know that this is coming down the pike. Literally down the pike. Oh. Any questions?
Okay, items 8, solar production.
Solar production through May, we had a guaranteed savings of 50,000 and actual savings of 52,513. So producing a little better than the guarantee. Since July of 2020, we have saved 427,755.
All right, thank you.
And then for conservation, for calendar year 2021, we have had 35 water waste reports received, 35 contacts made, 0 formal warning actions, and 0 penalties issued.
Okay, thank you, Ty. Okay, 10, Jason.
Yeah, the SCADA system upgrade. Staff continues to work on the site acceptance test for arsenic removal plant 2. It's a very comprehensive document. There's a lot of I/O to go through with alarming and control systems. So that's continuing. We hope to have it wrapped up by the end of the month, at which point we can begin installation and programming of arsenic removal plant 1.
Okay, 11.
Okay. For the month of May, plant 1 produced 1.28 million gallons. Plant 2 produced 15.16 million gallons.
Okay, operations.
For the month of May, 17 repairs, 14 replacements, 60 valves were turned. NODES ran 10 times, saving 34,230 gallons, bringing our grand total to 8,037,185 gallons of water saved. Yeah, approximately $52,000 in replenishment fees.
He was giving you the replenishment fee over cap. Okay, do we have any public comments on 7F, on the general manager and staff update? Is there any public comment? Okay, hearing no comment, we'll close the public comment section. Thank you guys for your reports. Board comments and future agenda items. Any comments?
I don't have any comments.
man. That standard report was very good, though.
Yes.
So the state has passed a law that it's soon we're going to be required to pay a fine if individuals in our service area use more than 55 gallons a day per capita interior water. They're supposed to set a standard for how many gallons they could use per day for the exterior, and that's underway right now, but I don't know that that's going to make it, it's not going to be defined before they impose the other restriction. Later on, the goal is to lower that 55 gallons down to 50. So imagine you're going to, per capita, use one 55-gallon drum of water per day, and then even less than that. We've asked for exceptions because of swamp coolers and things of that nature, and all of that is up in the air. But these are going to hit us in the next couple of years, if not sooner, and that is going to be not just a major impact to our area. It's going to hit the state very, very hard. And some representative in Sacramento wanted to drop that down to 40 gallons a day. So that's not, we can't monitor that as a water district. We can't go to everybody's house and figure out how many people are in it on a day-to-day basis. So it's just going to be an average number, and we have no way of enforcing that kind of water usage with our customers, and it's going to turn into, I think, a giant revenue enhancement program for the state of California as they begin to find water districts everywhere for what is really an unobtainable level of use in the state of California, unless you want to give up necessities like, well, I'm sorry, not necessities, I'm thinking maybe luxuries like bathing regularly or doing your laundry or things of that nature. So you can quit washing your car, get it with a dustpan and dust it off, but an election year coming up, the state of California is a one-party state, and that is not conducive to coming to usable, workable solutions for our water problem, which is not really how many gallons per day people are using. It is the failure since 1980 of that one-party state to address expansion of reservoirs. We have more water pouring into the Pacific Ocean during our flood years than is needed to support our human interests, our human uses during our drought years. So it's typically 2 years of flood years and 3 years of drought years. Typically, it's an average. So then you need to write your representatives at the state level and tell them to address the real problem. You haven't built any reservoirs. You barely maintain the ones you have. Get out there, put in some new reservoirs, find some way to capture that flood water, and apply proper logic and solutions to this problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Any other comments?
None for me.
Okay, I have no comments also either. It's 7:27. We will adjourn and go to closed session at 7:40. 7:35, is that okay? Okay. 7:35. Okay, we will reconvene this open session at 8:17. Jim, do you have anything from closed session?
Yes, the board met with staff and legal counsel. Any items under a closed session, no action is taken that requires disclosure under the ballot.
Okay, thank you. Okay, 8:18, we will adjourn this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.